Hello everyone, back tuning in to today's second video. So this afternoon we had a look at weather next week, 10 days. We also had a look at CFS V2 going out for the next month, taking us well into January. There is a suggestion that we might get some colder weather coming up through January. That's the broad theme of today's first video. Part of the video was looking at the GFS ensembles, and we saw that there is a lot of variation within the GFS ensembles at the moment as we look out through the first into the second week of January, and you couldn't really pick out a trend amongst those ensembles. There were some very cold looking members. There's also some quite mild looking members, and I said have a look at the GFS ensembles tonight one by one to see exactly what all the solutions are for this period as we're going through January, through the second weeks of January. So that's what we're going to do for tonight's second update. If you want to see the first update, which is really the first part of today's updates, then it's on the home page. Just scroll down a little bit underneath the link ads and check that out. So I'll get on with a look at the ensembles tonight. Before I get on with that, have a look at the ensembles that have come through tonight in a moment. Before I get on with that, just to say about the ads. There's these articles on all pages. Have a browse, click through links. If there's any articles that interest you, help to pay website. Thanks very much for doing that. Thanks for tuning in on your bank holiday Tuesday evening as well. Hope you've had a great day and of course a great Christmas holiday. So we're going to start off at metrosil.fr looking at the control run, which is a slightly lower resolution run compared to the operation, which is what we usually use when we do the videos. Normally we use the operational run of the GFS. This is the control, and it's a slightly lower resolution, but it's better, a higher resolution if you like, than all the other ensemble members that we're going to look at. Starting off on January the 4th, and so we get this cold snap coming on the 1st, New Year's Day. I spoke about this in the first video. I think we've definitely got that penciled in now. That looks like it's with very good confidence that we're going to get a northerly coming down on the 1st of January 2017 and lasting into the second. So the first couple of days are going to be cold. Then the idea is to topple that high pressure in over the country around the 3rd, around the middle of next week. So that's where we're picking up the story now with the ensemble. I wouldn't expect to see many of the ensemble members deviating from that broad starting point. So we're starting on the 3rd with high pressure in over the country, just within cold air. The cold air has already been established by that northerly on New Year's Day. Notice most of Europe and Scandinavia is in the freezer by that point. Not all that cold for us, but it is fairly cold because of what happens just preceding it around the new year. So as we run through the first week of January and move towards the second week of January, what happens is that we just have lots of high pressure on the control run, actually. So low pressure is being blocked in the Atlantic, high pressure is in there through most of Europe. This is very much what we've had through December. Winds are coming up from the south. There's loads of dry weather. You would look around and think it's quite mild. Actually, it could be fairly cold. The air is continental in nature, but the real cold, again, it remains over Europe, particularly over eastern parts of Europe. So the control run of the GFS tonight isn't especially cold, but it is very dry, and there would be frost in with that as well. Right, this is ensemble member number 1, and we start off the 4th of January with high pressure just to the southwest, low pressure up to the north, bringing in this northwesterly flow. Now, as we run through to the 6th, we find low pressure diving southwards down the North Sea. So that's bringing cold air from the north with it, and probably snow showers coming down with that. Then we get this stormy northwesterly with ensemble member number 1, which eventually finishes back into a northerly or northeasterly again. So that does look quite a cold run ensemble member number 1, bringing northeast winds through towards the 10th and 12th of January. I think we'll be getting snow coming through with that one. That's a cold early part to January. Ensemble member number 2 starts off with a ridge just to the southwest of the country, and then this one is going Atlantic driven, so no particularly cold weather coming through with that. We keep quite a bit of high pressure around through the 7th, 8th, 9th, and then turns quite stormy there as we're going from the 10th through to the 12th of January. No particularly cold conditions. Ensemble number 2. Ensemble number 3 has the ridge again over the country on the 4th. What does it do with it? So ensemble member that's number 2 again. So have a look at ensemble number 3, and I thought it seems familiar, that one. So we've got the ridge with ensemble member number 3 over the country on the 4th, and then it turns stormy, very stormy there around the 6th and 7th. Flow from the northwest, so it's chilly. It's not all that cold, but I suppose there could be some wintry conditions up in the north. The main thing is that it had a very stormy spell there with ensemble member 3 around the 6th and the 7th of the month of January. So we go through to ensemble member number 4, and this is how we're looking, with low pressure up to the north and high pressure down to the southwest. And what happens with this one is that we do get a swipe of cold air there on the 7th, and that probably brings snow showers down the eastern side of the country. Then a ridge builds through the country there to the 12th, lots of high pressure. So that was dry, cold and frosty, but not all that wintry with number 4. Number 5 starts off looking much colder, bringing a northerly wind down across the country with high pressure out to the west, and then we get another low pressure diving down the North Sea. That looks stormy, probably brings heavy snow showers in from the north as well. And then we go back to Atlantic driven conditions as we're moving up towards the 12th. But for a time we do get quite a blast from the north there around the 6th and 7th of January. Ensemble member number 6 looking like that, staying on high pressure to the south and low pressure up to the north, and then we dive back low pressure down the North Sea, so it turns cold, there'll be snow showers with that. And then it develops high pressure over Scandinavia and pulls in an easterly wind, and that wind's bringing bitterly cold air with it, probably some snow. The coldest of the air is going through to the south around the 10th of January, but it looks cold, that one. Ensemble member number 6. Ensemble member number 7 shows high pressure through the country on the 4th. That high pressure is still around the country as we go through to the 9th and the 10th. Lots of settled weather with that one. Will be a lot of frost, but the coldest conditions stay to the north and to the east as well. And then we go through to ensemble member number 8, and we find that we've got high pressure down southwest, low pressure up to the north, and a cold blast pushes down from the north there on the 6th through to the 7th. And then it all goes rather zonal, so that one again, not especially cold. You see, there's a range of solutions going on here, so it's very difficult to call what's going to happen as we go through the 1st and into the 2nd weeks of January. Number 9 has low pressure again running down the North Sea, bringing snow showers to eastern parts of the country. Then the high pressure goes up to Scandinavia, pulls in this bitterly cold easterly wind that could well produce snow showers, especially to the south. So that's a colder one, number 9. Number 10 has high pressure out to the southwest of the country, and then that goes up towards Greenland on the 7th of January. Pull down this cold northerly wind, that's bringing snow showers with it. This is a much colder one, and eventually we get into a very extreme sort of situation with a lot of Greenland blocking, low pressure to the south, and these easterly winds coming in across the country. They'll be bringing snow with them. So ensemble member number 10 looks like it's a bit of a big freeze type scenario there as we go through into the 2nd week of January. Number 11 looks quite unsettled, and the low pressure's diving southwards again, allowing high pressure to build over Scandinavia, and then the Atlantic comes back through. So it has a go, number 11, that getting quite cold, wintry, doesn't really come off, but around this period where the low pressure is diving southwards, that could bring some wintry conditions in with it. Number 12 has low pressure over Norway, high pressure in the Atlantic on the 4th of January, and then we bring down this cold northerly wind on the 7th. The high pressure goes Scandinavia. That's a bit of a recurring theme. High pressure trying to get up to Scandinavia sometime around the 7th to the 10th before it finally slinks down over the country, just producing frost. But it's a recurring theme there. That high pressure does try to move towards Scandinavia at the end of the 1st week of January. Number 13, we start off with a westerly for the north, and this one just looks unsettled and zonal, so no particularly cold weather coming through there. That's a milder option. Until we get the ensembles agreeing, it's always very difficult to say where this is all going to go. Number 14, also looking Atlantic driven and fairly mild as well. Ensemble member 15 for the 4th of January starts off looking quite frosty, and then as we run through again, we've got that high pressure trying to get up towards Scandinavia. There it goes, it's moving up towards Scandinavia, and the wind's going into the east, so by the 11th, putting bitterly cold air in from the east. There'd be snow showers coming in with those easterlies as well. That's a very cold end to the first week of January into the second week of January. We are in a bit of a big freeze there with ensemble member number 15. So many options on the table for January. It really is looking very, very uncertain. This is ensemble member 16, again trying to get the high pressure up to Scandinavia. There it goes, but this one doesn't quite come off. That's a very close run thing. For east parts of the country, we are putting in a chillier easterly, but for the west, actually, it's milder and wetter. That could go either way. Where we finish on the 12th, the high pressure over Scandinavia could take over, bringing that cold easterly wind, or the Atlantic could move through. Number 17 starts off, again, low pressure's driving down across the country, so that's a recurring theme. Around the 5th and the 6th, we get low pressure diving down across the country. That's bringing rain or snow. And then after that, ensemble member 17 re-establishes the Atlantic westerly, so that's not an especially cold one. Number 18 has high pressure going up towards Greenland, northerly winds blasting down across the country around the 5th, 6th, 7th. That looks very wintry. And then we go back into the Atlantic. We try to, doesn't really come off, and we finish up quite cold actually, with winds in from the east. So that's a cold one again. Ensemble member number 18. At the moment, I think they are edging colder, these options. There's more cold options than mild Atlantic-driven options, I would have thought. Number 19 looks quite Atlantic-driven, but the low pressure on more of a southerly track, so that one looks a little bit colder as well. However, that is one of the milder options that we've got there on ensemble member number 19. And then finally, we go through to number 20, we've got high pressure out to southwest, the low pressure is up to the north. Then the wind goes into the north and the northeast. That's bringing snow showers down across the country from the north and the northeast. And then the westerly flow re-establishes, although have another go by the 12th at turning winds back into the north. Again, so there's many options on the table as we go through January, through the first week and into the second week of January. Really impossible, I would suggest, to pick out what's going to happen. But I would say it's looking fairly cold. I think it's certainly looking colder and more wintry compared to what we've had so far this winter through the first couple of weeks of January. I'll be very surprised if we don't get some cold weather. We know we're going to get a cold couple of days on the 1st and the 2nd, but beyond that, I'd be very surprised if we don't get some cold weather coming up through the early part of January. It's just a question of how cold it gets. Some of those members are producing a big freeze there into the second week of January. There's about 2, 3, maybe 4 options that we've seen out of the 21 that really are biting in winter through the second week of January. They're in the minority, but most of the other members are suggesting some sort of colder weather at times. So I suggest you carry on with the updates, because we are moving into the most interesting period of the winter, I think, so far anyway, and we're just going to have to wait and see how this is all going to play out. Obviously, I'm going to keep you updated over the next few days, but that's how the GFS ensembles are looking tonight. Right, thanks so much for tuning in on your Bank Holiday Tuesday evening, and all it remains is to say thanks for watching. Bye.